Hi, this is Kyle Hirschfeld, and I'm here to talk to you this week about teaching an introductory history course at the collegiate level, specifically in the United States. Every history course is going to have to cover the Revolutionary War. So I wanted to look at a topic within the Revolutionary War that I don't know a lot about, and that's the role of debtors in the Revolutionary War. So, the role of debtors under pressure from British colonial governments fighting to maintain their freedom made up a sizable portion of those who protested British colonial rule. Recent scholarship has explored this issue, one which provides instructors with ample resources to rely on for instruction, such as pamphlets and letters about the role of society in the treatment of debtors. Furthermore, these pamphlets and letters often portray a biblical quotation, one which helps assert that revolutionary Americans were largely Christian in their orientation. So, to start off, I'd like to look at a pamphlet called The Ill Policy and Inhumanity of Imprisoning Insolvent Debtors, fairly stated and discussed by an impartial hand. So this is an anonymous pamphlet, and it was printed in 1754. And on the cover of this pamphlet, the quote which they present is, "Judge not, that ye be not judged, for with what judgment ye judge, ye shall be judged. And with what measure ye mete, it shall be measured to you again." And it just says Jesus Christ. It doesn't give a book of the Bible from where this came from. It doesn't give a verse. It just says Jesus Christ, which leads me to believe that many people at the time would have recognized this quote and would have taken it for granted that this was indeed from the Bible. And furthermore, it's interesting that this is written from the perspective of an anonymous person, someone who didn't want to put their name on top of this pamphlet. Another primary source that I found interesting was a letter written to the Legislative Authority of Connecticut, wherein it is shown that the law and practice of the colony in regard to debt and goal is not according to the foundation of civil law, which is compiled for the public good. So this is written from the perspective of somebody who believes that imprisoning debtors is actually adverse to societal health. And I found this very interesting because they are saying that if British policies are followed, ultimately it leads to social decay. And this was written in 1770. So things are starting to heat up as far as protests in the colonies at this particular point. Now, recently, the biggest book on debtors that I could find thus far is Forced Founders, Indians, Debtors, and Slaves, The Making of the American Revolution in Virginia by Woody Holton. Holton argues in this particular book that debtors had a large role in Virginia, especially in getting their upper class social betters, for lack of a better term, on their side in protesting British rule. Mr. Holton also wrote for the Journal of the Early Republic an article called "An Excess of Democracy or a Shortage: The Federalists' Earliest Adversaries," in which he argues that the role of debtors did not stop after the American Revolutionary War, and in fact it became a sticking point for others who were not in debt, because for the most part it was argued that the state legislators had gone too soft on those who had been debtors prior to the revolution to the British, and it was to the detriment of the rest of the non-debtor American nation. So these are some interesting things that you could bring to the classroom to kind of engage how students in their learning and bring them closer to an understanding of American history.